They called him an advocate for migrant workers who had no voice in the gleaming towers of Dubai. Lionel Lombard Jr. learned what happens when you challenge the most powerful real estate empire in the Middle East. This is the story of a complaint that became a prison sentence and a $60 million lawsuit that vanished into silence. New Orleans, 1992. Lionel Lombard Jr. walks across the stage at Brother Martin High School, diploma in hand, son of a local television news anchor. Future uncertain but full of promise. He studies English at the University of New Orleans, then takes a 3-month trip abroad that becomes something else entirely. It becomes what he called a 15-year love affair with international travel. By 2006, Lombard is living in Dubai, a partner in a public relations firm established in the expatriate community. His home is in a gated development called The Springs, built by Emaar Properties, the company that would destroy his life. On an ordinary walk near his home, Lombard saw migrant workers, Southeast Asian laborers building Dubai's endless towers. No shoes, no passports, no food, no place to sleep. An invisible army constructing a city of gold while living like ghosts. The next day, Lombard went to Emaar's offices and expressed his concern. The Emaar representative replied, "I am sorry these people are bothering you." He was not sorry about their conditions. He was sorry they were bothering a resident. Lombard realized this was not a misunderstanding. This was policy. He escalated. He sent emails, made phone calls, and protested in person. Then he took his complaints directly to Mohammed Ali Al-Abbar, Emaar's chairman and senior advisor to Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai. When local media picked up Lombard's story, his later lawsuit says it incensed the company. In Dubai, there are rules, unwritten but absolute. You do not embarrass the powerful. You do not make international headlines about labor conditions. You do not challenge men like Al-Abbar. The harassment started small. Security guards at the Springs development, where Lombard paid rent, began following him at night, jumping out of bushes to frighten him, and repeatedly refusing him entry through the front gate of his own community. The guards told him he could not possibly be an American because he was black. Lombard, a black man from New Orleans, was being told his nationality was impossible. He was forced to jump the gate to reach his own home. When he filed a harassment complaint against the property company, he went to a police station and found himself jailed. According to Lombard, the charge was fabricated. He was accused of making a suggestive hand gesture toward a woman, something he says never happened. He spent approximately 3 months in prison. He was released on bail, but lost his job. He was blacklisted from finding new employment in the UAE, and he was banned from leaving the country. If you believe stories like this should be documented and not erased, subscribe. This channel follows what happens when ordinary people collide with powerful systems. When Lombard sought help at the US Embassy, he returned home to find his residence ransacked and the locks changed. He relocated to Abu Dhabi to start over, began working to promote a new fashion label, and tried to rebuild. May or June 2008, Lombard was at a Starbucks in Abu Dhabi meeting a potential investor. Members of the Emirati Criminal Investigative Department approached him. He was wanted in Dubai over a financial dispute. Those were charges that Lombard says were never proved with any evidence. This began his second imprisonment. It would last 20 months. During processing, prison officials told Lombard something explicit. "You are here because of Al-Abbar and Emaar." They said he was not supposed to mess with Al-Abbar. His sentence was described as indefinite. Judges often could not locate any records on his case. Even the US Embassy had difficulty determining what the charges were. 20 months, not for a crime, but for complaining about working conditions. Let me tell you what Lombard alleges happened inside. He says he was shackled at the hands and ankles for 6 consecutive days after his second arrest. He was harassed constantly and kept from sleeping. When he attempted to obtain a jail certificate, 6 policemen savagely beat him, according to his lawsuit. He was moved to a punishment cell for 3 weeks, brutally chained, denied proper food and water, and given no medical care or washing facilities. He suffered abrasions and bruises from beatings and experienced racial harassment. The guards kept saying, "You are not an American, you are black." When Lombard contacted the US Embassy and Consulate about his treatment, officials acknowledged they knew he was being held unlawfully, but they said they had to respect the laws of a sovereign country. February 3rd, 2010. All charges dropped. No explanation. Lombard was quickly ushered out of the United Arab Emirates on instructions from the US government. He was sent back to New Orleans. 2 years of his life were gone. For what? For seeing workers without shoes and speaking up. 5 months later, July 7th, 2010, Lombard filed suit in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of California. Case number 2, 10CV01740. Judge Morrison. C. England Jr. presiding. The defendants were Emaar USA, Emaar Properties PJSC, and Muhammad Ali Al-Abbar personally. The amount was 224 million United Arab Emirates dirhams, approximately $60 million. The legal claims read like a human rights violation checklist: racial discrimination, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, torture, malicious prosecution, forced disappearance, and prolonged detention, conspiracy to instigate false criminal and civil proceedings, unfair competition under California law, compensation for property seized during his arrests. Lombard's attorneys, Jonathan Levy and Thomas Easton of Washington, D.C., filed in California because Emaar USA conducts substantial business there, the Beverly West luxury tower in Los Angeles, Emaar's American footprint, and because Lombard feared he might not get a fair trial in the United Arab Emirates. A reasonable fear for a man who had spent 20 months imprisoned on phantom charges. But here the story takes its strangest turn. November 30th, 2010. Less than 5 months after filing, the lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed. Judge England signed the order. There were no substantive rulings on the merits. No settlement was publicly announced. Emaar never filed a formal legal response before the dismissal. The $60 million torture lawsuit just vanished from the federal court system. By 2012, reporting revealed Lombard was fighting the US Department of State for records. Documents kept by the US Embassy and Consulate regarding his imprisonment were at issue. His lawyers needed those documents to proceed, but the US government would not release them. Lombard's attorney advised pulling the lawsuit until they obtained the documentation through the Freedom of Information Act. Whether the lawsuit was ultimately refiled after obtaining those documents, nobody knows. The public record goes silent. Emaar Properties issued a single statement via email to Reuters. The statement said the allegations are baseless and the company does not wish to comment. Dubai Deputy Police Chief Kamis Al-Mazaina was more emphatic, saying they strongly deny those accusations and that Dubai police does not torture anybody. Muhammad Al-Abbar, named personally as a defendant and summoned to appear in court, made no public statement. The case never progressed far enough for Emaar to file substantive legal arguments. They did not need to. The lawsuit disappeared. Here is what we know about Emaar Properties. Founded in 1997, the company built the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth, and the Dubai Mall, one of the world's largest shopping centers. It has projects in 15 countries. Chairman Muhammad Al-Abbar is one of Dubai's most influential business figures. This is not some minor developer. This is an empire. Lionel Lombard, a public relations consultant from New Orleans, accused that empire of orchestrating his torture. The allegations remain unproven in court. All detailed claims come from Lombard himself or his lawsuit filings. No independent medical documentation of torture has been publicly released. The lawsuit was dismissed before reaching discovery or trial. No cross-examination of evidence ever occurred, and no court has ever ruled on the merits. Dubai authorities categorically denied everything. Lombard's story fits a documented pattern. The Ryan Cornelius case provides context. British businessman Ryan Cornelius was arrested at Dubai Airport in 2008 over a $501 million loan dispute with Dubai Islamic Bank. He was initially sentenced to 10 years for fraud. His sentence was extended by an additional 20 years in 2018 after he completed his original term because the debt remained unpaid. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention ruled in 2022 that his detention violates 8 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The European Parliament passed a resolution demanding his release in 2025. As of early 2026, Ryan Cornelius remains imprisoned, over 71 years old. Human Rights Watch has documented that UAE authorities are known to be using torture as a means to extract forced confessions. There are reports of arbitrary and incommunicado detention, prolonged solitary confinement, and denial of access to legal assistance. The US State Department's human rights reports cite credible reports of disappearances, arbitrary arrest or detention, and transnational repression. Governments reportedly often held persons in custody for extended periods without charges or a preliminary judicial hearing. Multiple governments issue explicit travel warnings. The US State Department warns travelers that they will be barred from exiting the UAE if there are any criminal or civil legal cases against them, including cases previously unknown to the traveler. The UK Foreign Office cautions that if you are arrested for a financial crime and are not resident in the UAE, it is likely you will not be allowed bail. This is the system Lionel Lombard entered when he complained about migrant workers. The exact chain of events leading to Lombard's release remains a mystery. Why charges were suddenly dropped after 20 months? Why the US Embassy whisked him home? Why Lombard later withdrew his lawsuit without public explanation? These questions remain unanswered. What is documented is that Lombard spent approximately 2 years imprisoned in the UAE on charges that were ultimately dropped entirely, following his advocacy about migrant worker treatment at a property developed by one of the region's most powerful companies. Whether that imprisonment was lawful detention or malicious retaliation was never adjudicated. Think about the irony. Lombard saw workers without shoes building luxury homes. He complained about it, and he lost 2 years of his freedom. The workers he tried to help remained invisible. The company he challenged remains the Middle East's largest real estate developer. Mohammed Alabar continues as one of Dubai's most influential business figures. The migrant worker conditions Lombard originally complained about have remained a documented concern across the Gulf region. Lionel Lombard Jr. returned to New Orleans with a story that was never fully told or tested in a court of law. He said he planned to write a book about his experiences. Whether that book was ever written, the record does not say. Here is what they do not tell you about speaking truth to power in certain places. Sometimes the truth gets you imprisoned. Sometimes a $60 million lawsuit disappears. Sometimes the government that is supposed to protect you can only get you out of the country, not justice. Lombard went to Dubai as an expatriate living the international dream. He left as a man who had seen the machinery of power crush anyone who questions it. The torture allegations were never proven, but neither were the financial charges that kept him imprisoned for 20 months. In the end, all charges were dropped. All evidence was sealed. All records were hidden behind sovereign immunity and government discretion. That was the story of Lionel Lombard. He is the American who sued Emaar, claiming torture in Dubai. It began as a complaint about working conditions, and it ended with 2 years in prison. A lawsuit followed, and then it vanished. The powerful remained powerful. The silenced remained silent. Which part of this story troubles you most? The allegations of torture? The mysterious dismissal of the lawsuit? The pattern of foreign nationals trapped in UAE legal systems? Tell me in the comments. If you want more stories about power, justice, and the price of speaking up, subscribe. Because the world is full of people like Lionel Lombard. They saw something wrong. They said something, and they paid for it.